Alright, let's just carry on. And then... And this is most of the violence. This is most of the fighting involves enemies running towards you and hitting you. That's basically it. There's no real...
Cover the gate. Get after him. Hurry.
Look at this, they just run at you and start hitting you. That's basically it. Oh look, I got a gun. Remember in the first game, or even the second game, let me see, the first game. Right, so the first game, the first few enemies run at you, but then very soon after, you start ambushing the enemies too. If you remember the crazy woman by the pram, like she was kind of staring into an empty pram and then crying and everything, and you get to ambush her. And so this kind of relationship between you and the enemies, sometimes they ambush you, sometimes you ambush them. I like that. I like the idea that, you know, you get to ambush them. In this game, so far the enemies just run at us. And I'm afraid that happens a lot in this game. The enemies just run at you. Look, it's gonna happen again. We're gonna walk forward here. And then the music. Let me just walk over here for now. Because I want to trigger this and then go back for other things. Alright, there you go. Look at that, they just run at you.
Don't let him escape.
And again, like, I don't mind if the enemies run at you sometimes. But in this game it really does feel like the enemies run at you all the time.
I told you, Comstock. You sell them paradise and the customers expect cherubs for every chore. No menials in God's kingdom. Well, I have a man in Georgia who'll lease us as many Negro convicts as you can board. Why, you can say they're simple souls in penance for rising above their station. Whatever eases your conscience, I suppose.
Alright, well there you go, the racism. So Comstock is importing Negroes as slaves, I guess, to work, because you sell them paradise and nobody wants to work. Adds ability to possess humans whose suicide when the effect expires. Alright, so that's increasing the possession.
Possession now turns machine and man into allies. Hold and release to create a ghostly trap.
Right. So we're gonna use this possession pretty soon. And I mean, I've said at the beginning that I don't really like the combat in this game. And that's really the reason, like, people just run at you, and that's pretty much how this game is. Although I guess when we do kind of come up behind the turret here and get to possess it. And again, the turret, like, the turret's not really introduced. You don't really see the turret in action before you have to fight it for the first time. I mean, I know it's there, and therefore I just kind of came up and did the possession. But that's a turret that starts firing at you if you walk up to it, right? And the game just doesn't introduce turrets. You just walk up to it and suddenly there's a turret and suddenly it's firing at you. Whereas... let's see. So in Bioshock 1, the first turret you meet is a flame turret, which we know has a pretty short range. And you see it appear, and then if you walk up to it, then it starts firing at you, but it's behind a gate, and so there's no real threat. I'm pretty sure the first few times you meet the turrets in the first games, like it's relatively safe. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of see it coming and you can plan for it. In this game, just start fighting it. And again, like the people just kind of come at you. You don't get to jump on them, they ambush you. Not really good game design in my opinion. Look at this, he's just look at him, he's running at you. There's a lot of this running at you. What the? Alright. Where did he come from? I don't know. Anyway, well you see, as we play, I don't know if you actually see it though, because it's a different watching the game and playing the game. Remember in Bioshock 2 we had natural camouflage and we had decoy with the damage reflect, and how I could just, you know, just decoy it up and let the enemies kill themselves. And you know, that allows you know, interesting tactics. Whereas in this game, look at this, just run at you. There's no tactics in this game. They just run at you and that's it. I don't know, I don't agree. I don't agree with. And look at, like, you can barely see the turret there. I know he's there because I've played this game before. You can barely see him there. Look at that, he can see you though. He can most definitely see you. Like you see how I don't know if you see, but the way I play is just not as interesting tactically in this game. This game does not have interesting tactics. You're always getting, you know, they're always running towards you, and that's it. So you just kind of shoot them before they kill you. Like you kill them before they kill you. That's pretty much the extent. Look, again, running at you. They're not searching for you. It's not like you're, you know, some sort of fugitive. You're not hiding. You're just walking down the street, and they're running at you, and you're running forward, and that's pretty much it. They do foreshadow the firemen a little bit. The combat is just not interesting, man. Have we been here before? No, we haven't. Let's just come over here and see what's back here. Ooh, loot the cash register. Awesome. Is that it? Alright, that's it. I guess if you're the sort of person who enjoys running and gunning, then this is just fine. You know, if you're the sort of person who likes this, then that's fine. But I'm not. You know, I like being cautious. I like being stealthy. I like being clever. Sometimes kind of like needlessly complicated. I enjoy that. I enjoy being needlessly complicated because it's entertaining to outsmart the enemies, right? Even though they're, you know, they're AIs and they're not that smart anyway. But you know, a lot of games would give you options. The first few Bioshock games give you the option. I mean, if you want to run and gun, you can. If you want to be stealthy, you can. If you want to hack bots and you know, use decoy and use, what's the other one? You know, you can kind of control Big Daddies and stuff. You can do a lot of. There's a lot of different ways to play the game. You know, there's different ways to play Skyrim.
What's going on?
Oh, let me just fight this guy first before going on. And there's a fireman. We can possess him. Guess what possession does? Nothing. Possession does nothing. He still runs towards you. Alright, what do you get?
Vigor.
And he drops the vigor he had before.
Shit. Well, you only live once.
Press to throw a fiery grenade. Hold and release to create an explosive trap.
Yes.
That wasn't no sample.
Exactly like the plasmids, except they don't explain where they come from. Yeah, so I mean, in Deus Ex, you can choose to play how you want. You can run and gun if you want. You can be stealthy if you want. In Skyrim, the same. You can use, melee weapons if you want. You can use spells if you want. You can use bows if you want. A lot of these games, they give you multiple ways to play, and including the first two Bioshock games, you can choose different plasmid, different weapons, and play different ways. In this game, not so much, because the enemies pretty much always run at you, and so really the only viable way to play this game is to shoot them before they kill you. And that's pretty much it. There's not that many instances where you can sneak around and really outsmart the enemy. What's going on? Who is that? Okay, there. Look, running at you again. And so this is why I'm playing on easy difficulty, because I just don't like this. I don't like being ran at, if that makes sense. I'm not entertained by the run and guns or the gameplay, and this game really is just run and gun. There's really not many other ways to play it. Alright, so that's where we're supposed to be going. They do use the statue fairly well. Remember the idea of this landmark being, a giant distinctive thing that you can see in the distance, and therefore you can identify where you are. They did that a lot in Half-Life 2, where you can always see the citadel wherever you are in the city, and so you can kind of tell how far away you are from the city center, and kind of roughly where you are in the city. So they used the citadel in Half-Life 2, and they used the statue here for a similar effect. And also it serves as storytelling as well. Actually, it's just a lot like the citadel, because later on things happen to the statue, and then you can see the effects of it, and it symbolizes the general goings on. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say too much, but stuff happens, and it's reflected in the state of the statue, as it were. So yeah, they took that straight from Half-Life 2. I'm not complaining though, because it's a good way to tell a story, having a landmark do that. Floating city, it's just kind of islands of buildings in the distance. It's not really a coherent city, there's no plan because everything moves anyway. I don't know, I really do feel like there could be more design going on with how the city is. Like there's flags, I did talk about flags and balloons, and there are flags floating, like flapping in the wind like that. It's just not a very convincing floating the city. You might imagine a lot of kind of vertical elements, or like, vertigo elements as well, where you kind of look down a lot and there's kind of a lot of heights and you have to... Maybe later on, I don't remember too much of that. But I can imagine, different ways of taking advantage of the fact that we're floating in the air. And that bridge, look at that bridge there. Does that mean that those two islands are permanently joined? I don't know. The stone buildings on floating clouds. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not... I wish there was more. That's what I want to say. I wish the game kind of explored the possibilities a bit more than it has. But we'll see a bit more of it later on. I'm gonna enter here. Yep, leave area. They had my scent. If I didn't get to the girl soon, this whole job was botched, I think, is what he said. Alright, so I'm gonna take a break here, save the game, and when we come back, we continue walking through Colombia. it's basically gonna be, well, not entirely one long corridor, but mostly corridors. Actually, it does get more complicated later on. A little bit more complicated later on. Alright, I'll see you guys when we come back. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining too much, but there are some serious... Like, there's some... Like, this is not as good as the first two Bioshock games in some very important ways. The story is very interesting. The gameplay is less interesting, less technically diverse than the first two games. And that's a real shame, because, Bioshock wasn't just a good story, it was a fun game to play too, Whereas this game wasn't as much fun to play. You kind of just put up with the chores to see the next part of the story for the most part. That's how I felt. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video.